Other takeaways that we haven't touched on, I thought in terms of the running backs, Chris, to me, there is, and this again, not in the realm of super surprising, Kamari Moulton to me was the clear number one. He was the best looking running back for Iowa on Saturday. He had the chunk runs, he had the big plays out there. Jazz Patterson looks like another guy that, as he's been in the past, he can go give you some tough, hard-earned yardage inside, but he didn't have really the chunk runs, at least this past weekend. I said it earlier, I'll say it again for the late arriving audience here with us on a Sunday night on Iowa Hawkeyes Primetime Live, or on a Monday night, or whichever night you're consuming the show. I thought freshman Nathan McNeil did some good things in the backfield as well. I thought he was impressive for Iowa in this thing. But among the takeaways, I thought Kamari Moulton, to me, he's the number one running back. That's where he's listed on the depth chart, Chris. And I think that's the way this thing's going to shake out based on what we saw from the open practice.
Yeah, and now with Caleb Johnson departing, we'll get into where he goes to. But, that was a big question too, is who's going to step up? Who's going to be the RB1 now? And we've seen Kamari Moulton have some great plays. He came in, had a lot of momentum playing behind Caleb Johnson. He was a great backup behind Caleb Johnson. Now it's his time to shine. He was expected to be the RB1 going into the spring practice, and he backed that up. He's very twitchy, very quick. He could kind of just burst out on a run, hit a little cut and burst out on a run. And we've seen that yesterday. But, our running back room is deep right now. Jazz Patterson, he's more the like Caleb Johnson-ish type where power back, just get you some harder runs. I'm blanking on the other guy's name you just said.
Nathan McNeil.
Yeah, Nathan. Sorry, I blanked on his name for a second. But he looks impressive too. He looks like a guy that could really surprise some people this season if he gets the opportunity. It's kind of deep right now. You can only play so many players in the game, but if he ever gets that opportunity, what he showed you yesterday, that could get sharpened, and that could be something that we see throughout the season. Bearing a Kamari Moulton injury, a Jazz Patterson injury, if he can provide for us in the season what he was shown to do yesterday, then you feel good about the run game, along with how we touched on the pass game, the throwing game. You got to love how this offense is shaping out, and the depth. The depth really stuck out yesterday. I know they're only practicing against each other, and they're practicing against each other every day. Just the depth. You see all the skill that is there, all the talent that's there. So we just all got to hope that, football is a game of injuries. Injuries happen. But you just got to hope that all these players still show these flashes when the time comes for the season, when the games actually matter and our record gets affected by it.
I think there's a good chance that you can. I mean, look, it's running back. Guys get dinged up. They take hits. They take some wear and tear out there, right? So it wouldn't be crazy to think that you're going to need 3 running backs. That's pretty typical of a college football season. Now, what would be maybe atypical is what Caleb Johnson did for Iowa last season, where he carried 240 times and obviously had a magical season and set a bunch of single season program records for Iowa. Kamari Moulton, you hope, right, that I think he's the number one on this Iowa team, and you hope that he, keeps ascending. And I don't know that I'm not going to put anybody up for trying to go have a Caleb Johnson season this year. That would be unfair to Kamari Moulton or Jazzy Patterson or Nathan McNeil, but you're going to need multiple running backs. And based on what we saw on Saturday, I think there's a chance that Nathan McNeil, if it's as the number 2 running back, that probably still leans Jazz Patterson's direction. Or if it's the number 3, you're going to need multiple running backs. We can toss this on the bingo card for next week, Chris. I think Tim Lester tipped the hand on where Ferris State offensive tackle Bryce George is going to slot in for the Hawkeyes in his media availability before the open spring practice. And spoiler alert, this way, I'd love to give you a 1-week tease to come back for next week's show on Monday night at 6:00, a little more than a week from today. But I do think that Bryce George, they're looking at left tackle for him with with Dotzler, with Lauk. So I think Jennings Dunker. And let's see, who's the other gentleman over there at right tackle? Cannon Leonard. Cannon Leonard did some nice things in this open spring practice for Iowa. I thought he had a good day, but it looks like Bryce George will be in that left tackle mix, which is kind of what we thought, right? Even though he was a right tackle guy at Ferris State, something was going to have to give. Either Dunk was going to the left side, or you had the incomer in Bryce George was going to have to go to the left side. It sounds like that will be Bryce George making that move, but I think Iowa likes what it has at left tackle in Jack Dotzler and with Trevor Lauk. Lauk did some nice things out there. He sprung open some runs, and I thought, some of the discussion, it's felt like, and correct me, Chris, if you think this is wrong, some of the discussion has felt like Iowa, they got to find an answer at left tackle. They haven't liked what they've seen in the spring. And maybe some of that is still true for Iowa, that they wanted experience and they needed to address the left tackle, because guess what? The blind side of your quarterback, that's pretty doggone important. So you have to put a premium on that. But Lauk, he looked good. He did some nice things for Iowa. So I'm not ruling it out that he's going to be right there in the mix for the Hawkeyes, potentially at left tackle, but consider that a discussion we can roll over into next week.